In the world of Trench Crusade, the faithful fight a grueling battle. The nations of the faithful join together to fight off the armies of darkness, struggling, fighting, and dying so that humanity grasps one more moment, one more minute under the light of God, and against the tyranny of those who oppose his laws. Of these faithful factions, one stands out, a spear forged in iron, a state whose soldiers know no equal, whose bravery knows no bounds. The soldiers of the Free State of Prussia. Their tradition of soldiery and stalwart Prussian bravery have truly made them a state of blood and iron. Their forces of the faithful have cut their names into the histories. Welcome back to the world of Trench Crusade, and welcome to the Free State of Prussia. The heretic trenches are more than just defensive fortifications. They are death traps, laced with semi-sentient barbed wire that tightens and constricts around the foolish or unlucky who stumble into its grasp. The battlefield is a killing ground, constantly scoured by the unrelenting bombardment of artillery witches, while death commandos prowl the wreckage, ensuring no survivor crawls back to friendly lines. The enemy's pyramid-shaped pillboxes and reinforced casements have withstood countless charges, cutting down waves of faithful troops with merciless machine gun fire and infernal artillery barrages. No approach is safe, and when the moon is full, the horrors of the Path of the Beast stalk no man's land, ensuring that even the shadows are a threat. To break these nightmarish defences, Duke Constantine does not rely on massed assault or attritional warfare. Instead, he unleashes his most deadly instrument, the Strasstruppen, Prussian elite shock troops. Even in a nation famed for its martial traditions, the Strasstruppen are a breed apart. Selected from the most experienced mountain troops, veterans of the brutal northern campaigns, and the finest combat engineers and sharpshooters, they are the Duke's spear, piercing the enemy's lines so the reserves can pour through. Their training is unforgiving, designed to hone their bodies and minds into precision instruments of war. Speed is essential, as is the ability to exploit even the smallest advantage, whether it be a shadow, a ruined trench, or an instant of hesitation in an enemy's eyes. Their drills include marksmanship in pitch darkness, camouflage techniques, and even hand-to-hand combat with monstrous communicants to ensure that when the time comes, they will not falter. Yet, physical prowess alone is not enough. The most vital trait of a true Strasstruppen is a soul forged in iron. To fight the armies of the damned in brutal melee combat requires more than skill. It demands absolute resolve. A Strasstrupp soldier must be the type to pull the pin in their last grenade while their own intestines spill onto the mud. The kind of fighter who will grapple a heretic anointed, stare into the hellfire raging in their gaze, and drive a trench club into their skull without flinching. When the Strasstruppen prepare for battle, silence reigns. There are no final prayers, no whispered words of encouragement. Every warrior knows their role. Their tactics are rehearsed to perfection, and communication is conducted through hand signals alone. The battle begins with suppression fire from heavy weapons, forcing the enemy to take cover. Then comes the charge across no man's land, a lightning-fast advance under the cover of flamethrowers, which scorch the entrenched defenders. Grenades arc through the air, raining destruction upon dugouts, bunkers, and gun emplacements. The assault teams spread like an eagle's wing, each squad working in deadly unison to clear the trenches, sever communications, and eliminate enemy reinforcements before they can rally. In the chaos of close quarters combat, Strasstruppen wield a brutal array of weapons: daggers, trench clubs, entrenching tools, and automatic pistols, but their true favourite is the grenade, which they carry in vast quantities to clear strongpoints, loopholes, and bunker entrances with merciless efficiency. For ranged combat, submachine guns and pistols are their primary choice, often modified with the extended magazine to sustain them through the frantic ammunition draining intensity of trench warfare. Their uniforms are as practical as they are deadly. They wear sturdy mountain boots and leather reinforced uniforms, protecting them from barbed wire and enemy blades. Unlike standard foot soldiers, their armour is woven with high concentrations of orichalcum, making it light yet resilient, allowing for greater mobility without sacrificing protection. Even their Pickelhaube helmets have been modified. The iconic spikes are detachable, as experience has shown that such decorations make it far too easy a target on the battlefield. Unlike the rigid formations of other Faithless forces, the Stoßtruppen operate with autonomy. Many of their warbands are given broad strategic objectives and then left to their own devices to execute them over weeks or even months. They are not soldiers who wait for orders. They are hunters, warriors who thrive in chaos, cutting deep into enemy territory and striking with surgical precision. To fight this war as a Stoßtrupp soldier is to accept a brutal truth. Only unwavering determination carries Prussian advances forward. In the trenches, there is no room for mercy, no space for hesitation. Those who linger too long on the morality of their actions do not survive. A Sturman who endures for any length of time will find themselves changed, their humanity eroded by the horrors they witness. In the end, the war claims all who fight in it, be it by death or by the slow corruption of their soul. The battlefields of the Great War are not only contested by soldiers, but also by warrior priests, who bring both steel and scripture to the front lines. Among them, the Militärgeschlecht of the Free State of Prussia stand apart. Battle-hardened trench clerics trained to combat the heretic legion sorcerers and unholy priests. These chaplains do not merely offer spiritual guidance. They wage war with faith as their shield, and fury as their weapon, locking horns with the infernal goetic powers that seek to consume the world. Their importance on the battlefield is undeniable, and the heretic commanders recognize it well. Every fallen chaplain earns a blood price, while a captured one fetches a far greater sum, with Mammon himself offering double the reward. These holy warriors are prime targets, as their souls serve as the foundation for the dreaded Goetic warlocks, corrupted priests twisted into servitude under the forces of hell. To prevent such fates, the Free State and the Church invest heavily in their training and armaments, and their protection, ensuring that each chaplain is as much a warrior as a shepherd. Their armour is no ordinary battlefield protection. Forged beneath the ancient vaults of Cologne Cathedral, their suits are sanctified thrice over before being shipped to the front lines. Inspired by the knightly armour of old, these masterfully crafted suits do not merely serve a practical purpose, but also act as a symbol of unwavering faith for the troops who march beside them. However, the location of their forging is a source of strife. The Free State of Prussia and the Holy Roman Empire both lay claim to Cologne, a dispute dating back to the Free State's successful succession after its first democratic elections. Originally conceived as a means of securing independence from the Empire, these elections became integral parts of the Prussian governance, solidifying its break from imperial rule. Despite the tensions, the Church has prioritized the war against the heretic legions over political squabbles, keeping the cathedral's workshops operational in service of the faithful's war effort. Beyond their armour, these trench clerics wield a terrifying arsenal of holy devastation. Their sacramental grenades are filled with a lethal mix of myrrh, hemlock, and burning incense, fused with the classified chemical agents. When detonated, they scatter smouldering embers and sanctified shrapnel, reducing both flesh and fiend alike to ash. Their weapons are not mere instruments of war, but divine tools of retribution, ensuring that the enemies of the faith meet their end in fire and ruin. The heretic war machine holds the advantage in the arms race of armoured warfare. Their tanks and war machines are not only fast and heavily reinforced, but also wield weapons of unholy design. The dreaded sacrilege-type tank mortars. Unlike conventional artillery, these infernal siege weapons do not simply blast through fortifications. Instead, they rupture the fabric of reality itself, piercing through trenches, pillboxes, and bastions as if their walls were mere illusions. The true horror of the sacrilege mortar lies in its payload. Rather than shrapnel or explosives, it delivers shells infused with echoes of the reverse words of God's creation. When detonated, these blasphemous reverberations shake through structures and flesh alike, their unnatural frequencies unraveling divine order itself. Victims do not merely die, they are undone. With each terrible word, their skin peels away, their nervous system unravels, and their flesh dissolves layer by layer. The final moments are agony beyond human comprehension, as every fibre of their being is systematically erased. To counter these monstrous war machines, the Prussians have developed a range of anti-armour innovations, from high-powered anti-material rifles to specialist close combat guard corps units. While the sacrilege mortars are devastating, they are also slow-firing and notoriously difficult to aim, giving the faithful warriors a narrow window to strike first. Prussian doctrine does not rely on matching firepower with firepower. Instead, they engage with speed and precision, employing lightning-fast assaults before the enemy can bring their full might to bear. At the heart of these tactics are the Guard Corps, tank hunters, elite Stoßtruppen specialists, trained explicitly for engaging and neutralizing enemy armour in close combat. Their weapon of choice is the infamous tank splitter blade, a sword engineered to carve through armoured vehicles as easily as a butcher's knife through flesh. Developed by the Prussian Institute of Metallurgy, these weapons combine orichalcum and titanium alloys, their edges honed to near monomolecular sharpness. A single, well-placed strike can shear through treads, armour plating, or even engine compartments, crippling a tank before the rest of the Guard Corps units swarm the disabled vehicle with incendiary devices and explosive grenades. Speed is everything. The heretics are well aware of these tactics, and their own elite warriors, the legionaries, are trained specifically to counter them. However, these enemy soldiers do not simply seek to kill the Prussian tank hunters. They compete with one another for the opportunity to capture them alive, knowing that living Stoßtruppen fetch a high price in the markets of the court. For those unfortunate enough to be taken, death would have been a mercy. The punishment for such audacity is far worse than any battlefield execution. Thus, the Guard Corps warriors know that each charge against an enemy tank is not just a battlefield maneuver, but a gamble with their very souls. There can be no hesitation, no retreat, only the absolute certainty that they will either destroy their targets or never return at all. Among the litany of soldiers and fighters of the Free State, there are those who have done more than any other. A great number of holy people have come from the Free States, but none compare to Saint Dominica of the Zweihander. Her prowess with a weapon was legendary, and she was considered blessed by God to be able to wield such a blade. She charged the enemy ranks during the Battle of Absalom, but fell to a pupil seraph when the charge faltered, and her unit was cut down. The Free State of Prussia is a powerful and expert fighting force of the faithful forces. They are a bulwark in attack and defence of faithful lands, travelling the distances to the front lines of no man's land to stop the advance of any heretic forces and to push back anywhere they can. But to understand the Free State of Prussia, we must look at its historical counterpart, the actual Free State of Prussia. The story of Prussia is one of conquest, ambition, and unrelenting determination. From its origins as a Crusader stronghold in the frozen Baltic to the unification of Germany under its iron grip. Prussia was forged through war and shaped by the will of powerful leaders. This is the story of a kingdom that would dominate European history for centuries. In the 13th century, the Teutonic Order, an elite band of German knights, set their sights on the pagan lands of Prussia. Clad in white robes and emblazoned with black crosses, they waged a relentless crusade, carving out a new realm with fire and iron. The Teutonic Order built towering castles and imposed their rule upon the land, but no empire lasts forever. In 1410, at the Battle of Grunwald, the Polish-Lithuanian forces crushed the once mighty knights. Their power waned, and in 1525, Grand Master Albert of Brandenburg made a desperate choice. He abandoned the order, embraced Protestantism, and turned Prussia into a duchy under Polish rule. However, Prussia was changing. The seeds of new power had been planted, and while Prussia struggled, the Margraviate of Brandenburg was growing under the ambitious Hohenzollern dynasty. In 1618, fate intervened, and the Hohenzollerns inherited Prussia, forming a union of two scattered territories. But then came the 30 Years' War, a brutal conflict that left Brandenburg devastated. Cities burned, villages were abandoned, and famine spread. But from this crucible of destruction emerged Frederick William, the Great Elector. In 1657, he had secured full sovereignty of Prussia, casting off Polish influence, no longer a vassal. Prussia was now truly independent, and Prussia's ambitions could not be contained. In 1701, Frederick III, Elector of Brandenburg, sought to elevate his domain from a mere duchy to a kingdom. But within the Holy Roman Empire, kingship was a prize granted only by the emperor. In exchange for military support in the War of the Spanish Succession, he received his reward. In Königsberg, beneath the vaulted ceilings of its crowned cathedral, he crowned himself king in Prussia. The Kingdom of Prussia was born. If Frederick I laid the foundation, it was his grandson, Frederick the Great, who built the empire. A warrior, a philosopher, and a king forged in battle. In 1740, he made his move, seizing the rich province of Silesia from Austria. War erupted, and against the combined might of Austria, France, and Russia, Frederick stood alone. Prussia's survival teetered on the edge, and yet, through sheer brilliance and ruthless efficiency, he prevailed. The 7 Years' War cemented Prussia's reputation as a great power. The 19th century would see Prussia's rise to its greatest heights, and the man behind this transformation was Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor. Through a series of ruthless wars, Bismarck crushed Prussia's rivals. Denmark fell in 1864, and Austria was shattered in 1866. Then came the final, decisive blow, war with France in 1871. Within the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, the German Empire was proclaimed, and the King of Prussia now held a greater title, the Emperor of Germany. Prussia had not just survived, it had conquered. For centuries, Prussia shaped the destiny of Europe. Its discipline, its militarism, its iron will became legendary. But after 2 world wars, Prussia would cease to exist, and yet its legacy endures in the history, strategy, leadership, and ambition. Prussia remains an indelible force in history. This was the rise of Prussia, a state forged in fire and a kingdom built by the iron, an empire that changed the world. Now, clearly, in Trench Crusade, the alterations of the Great War have changed the fact that Prussia ever unified Germany. In the world of Trench Crusade, the Holy Roman Empire still exists. In this world, the Iron Chancellor did not exist. Otto von Bismarck never unified Germany into one nation under Prussia. Now, how far back the difference goes, I'm not too sure, since, in the world of Trench Crusade, Prussia got its freedom from the Holy Roman Empire instead of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, both of whom still exist in Trench Crusade's world. Now, whether this means there is tough rivalries between them and the Free State of Prussia, I believe there is. Whether this means that the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth ever owned Prussia to begin with is also yet to be revealed. In this alternate universe, the Holy Roman Empire may have expanded more, taking Prussia in as one of its core states, until their democratic liberation and succession from the Holy Roman Empire. Now, I believe in the world of Trench Crusade, characters such as Frederick the Great have to have existed. As we saw, Joan of Arc existed in this universe, fighting off the Black Grail. Maybe Frederick the Great led a fighting force of Prussians against an invasion from the northern Hellgate. What is known is that just like in the real world, Prussians have a tradition of militarism and a strong military force. Just like in the real world, their elite training and formations are what help them fight off the heretics and become such a deadly fighting force. I, for one, am excited to see what more can be done with the Free State of Prussia. Especially Frederick the Great. So please, any Trench Crusade creators out there, if you watch my videos, please tell me what happened to Frederick the Great. I love the design of all the Prussian troops. The Germanic, ancient yet modern look works really well. And I'm curious to see what the difference is between Prussia and the Teutonic orders in the Baltics. The Teutonic Knights that still remain there, since in the actual history, they were destroyed by the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth again in 1410. And that actually led to the creation of Prussia as a duchy in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. So maybe it's actually because of the fact that the Teutonic orders are still in the Baltics and there's still heavy Germanization in those regions that mean that Prussia was a state under the Holy Roman Empire, which was predominantly German. But that's just a theory. A Trench Crusade theory. No, but I love these new lore drops that we're getting. Well, this one isn't quite new. I know this one is actually relatively old. I've been meaning to do a video on it for quite a while, but I felt it was more important to get through the basics and the new lore that has dropped. Now, as of recording this video, 2 days ago, the map for Trench Crusade finally dropped, and oh my goodness, is it glorious. A bit confusing, but glorious. I'm going to be doing a full deep dive. That is my next video. I'll be doing a full deep dive into the map, looking at borders, comparing them to actual history, and my own thoughts on it. But one thing I want to say real quick, why is Kilkenny the named city in Ireland? Please, Trench Crusade, answer me that. Even Scanner was wondering what's going on with that, and he is like insider trading. Why is Kilkenny the named city? Why isn't it Dublin? Or even like the bigger cities, Cork and Galway? I look forward to your reply, Trench Crusade. Get back to me, please. But yeah, I'm so in love with this map. It looks so cool. The detail, the style is beautiful. I have a few questions about some of the kingdoms that we haven't heard much about. The Golden Khanate is obviously the Mongols. And the Kalmar Union has confused me quite a bit because it says the Kalmar Union, but then under it says the kingdoms of Norway, Sweden, Finlandia, and Denmark. So what part is the Kalmar Union? Because the Kalmar Union can't just be the Arctic parts of those countries, since basically no one lives there. And it said that the Kalmar Union is a major fighting force against the Second Hellgate. So, is it just an alliance they all have and they still maintain their independence as kingdoms? Anyway, all of this is to come in the deep dive into the map. I'll be asking all my questions and going through and all the details I noticed. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.